Welcome to the third and final segment of the history of LIS and LIS professions for SLIS 701, Introduction to Library and Information Studies. In the previous segment, I discussed how monastic scribes, after the fall of Rome, contributed to the preservation of documents of late antiquity, the conservation of libraries in Byzantium, and the reintroduction of libraries to Western Europe. I highlighted the significance of the printing press on book publishing and methods for medieval collections. I also reviewed milestones of the public library movement in the United States and the introduction of tools for bibliographic control. Please review the Readings and Websites section of the module lesson plan on Blackboard for the required materials. By the end of this discussion, you will be able to explain the processes that professionalized librarianship in the 20th century, summarize the responsibilities and activities undertaken by library departments, identify scholars in the field of library information science, and discuss how business and social leaders demonstrated their recognition of the significance of libraries to society. The professionalization of occupations began in the 19th century CE and continued throughout the 20th century CE. A model defining the process of professionalization served to measure the following indicators: a representative association concerned with general standards of professional activity, establishment of formal educational programs affiliated with the university, development of ethics codes regulating the conduct of professional workers, cultivation of an orientation of service, creation and maintenance of a body of theoretical and practical knowledge, and social recognition of professional status from some significant segment of the surrounding community. Librarianship in the United States during this time began to match the indicators of this model. The American Library Association was founded in 1876 CE. Practices were standardized and training shifted from a system of apprenticing to offering specialized courses in library schools, the first in the country being Columbia College's School of Library Economy, which opened in 1887 CE. The ALA Code of Ethics was adopted in 1939 and has been subsequently revised in 1981, 1995, and 2008. A service model developed that organized library services into 5 functions. Library research and scholarship developed into a body of knowledge. Philanthropists, recognizing the significance of libraries, provided funding for the construction of libraries across the country, while segments of the surrounding community advocated for the delivery and expansion of library services. The library service model represented the 4th indication of professionalization, organizing the functions of libraries into 5 categories. Staffs within these areas perform the following activities: circulation or access services handle user accounts as well as loaning, returning, and shelving materials. Acquisitions order materials and maintain acquisition budgets. Reference answers user questions, provides assistance and instruction on accessing reference materials, and develops library programming specific to users or formats of material. Technical services catalogs materials, develops and maintains collections databases, processes new acquisitions and deaccessions resources through the systematic removal of materials based on selected criteria. Stacks maintenance reshelves materials returned to the library, shelves materials processed by technical services, and shelf reads material in the stacks to ensure that it is in the correct library classification order. The 5th indication of professionalization, library scholarship, entails the creation and maintenance of a body of theoretical and practical knowledge, the mastery of which is a precondition of admission to professional status. Along with the presence of a core of scholars who regularly contribute to the body of knowledge. Prominent leaders in library scholarship and research include, but are not limited to, Melville Dewey. Dewey devised the Dewey Decimal Classification System for organizing library contents and cataloging. He was one of the founders of the American Library Association and founded and edited the Library Journal. He also set up the School of Library Economy at Columbia College. Paul Ottley, a Belgian lawyer who many consider a visionary of his time, was a central figure in the emergence of information science in the late 1800s and early 1900s. He collaborated with Henri Lafontaine on the Universal Bibliographic Repertory and the Universal Decimal Classification Scheme. In 1934, he laid out his vision of the computer and internet and what he called the radiated library. S.R. Ranganathan was an Indian mathematician and librarian. He proposed the 5 laws of library science in 1931, which outlined principles for operating library systems. The 5 laws are: books are for use, every reader their book, every book a reader, save the time of the reader, and the library is a growing organism. He also developed the colon classification system in 1933. Forrest Spaulding was a public librarian who wrote the Library Bill of Rights in 1938. The American Library Association adopted the Bill of Rights in 1939. These are just a few of the individuals who contributed to the body of library information science knowledge. I hope you will Google some of the names listed for more information. The 6th and final indication of professionalization, social recognition, was demonstrated through philanthropists who recognized the significance of libraries and commissioned as well as created endowments for the construction and maintenance of libraries. There were also vocal segments in the reform movements of the early 1900s and the 1960s and 1970s. In the early 1900s, social reformers lobbied for legislation of tax-supported libraries. And in the 1960s and 70s, activists advocated for the delivery and expansion of library services to communities marginalized by mainstream society. Enoch Pratt set up an endowment and financed a gift of a central library and 6 branch libraries to the city of Baltimore in 1882 CE. He stipulated that the library be a public circulating library for all, without distinction of race or color. Andrew Carnegie commissioned the building of over 2,800 public libraries around the world between 1883 CE to 1929 CE. He founded the construction of public libraries and academic libraries in the United States and established the Carnegie Whitney Endowment to prepare and publish reading lists, indexes, and bibliographic aids. The General Federation of Women's Clubs supported the establishment of 474 free public libraries and traveling libraries in 1904, and lobbied for legislation to provide tax support to libraries. Gracia Countryman developed community outreach strategies in the factories, firehouses, and hospitals of Minneapolis in the early 1900s. She oversaw the building of 12 branch libraries and established a mobile library truck. She also provided reading materials for the blind and foreign language materials for immigrants. She was later elected president of the American Library Association in 1934. Time doesn't allow for me to discuss all of the individuals, projects, or legislation listed, but feel free to Google some of the names or review some of the supplemental materials for this module. Contemporary libraries evolved into 4 general categories: public, school, academic, and special libraries. Each type of library is represented by a professional association on the national and state level. I encourage you to visit a website of interest or get involved as a student with an association if you haven't already. Founded during the Centennial International Exhibition of 1876 in Philadelphia, the American Library Association was created to provide leadership for the development, promotion, and improvement of library and information services, and the profession of librarianship to enhance learning and ensure access to information. The Special Library Association was founded in 1909 in the state of New York. It is an international association representing the interests of information professionals in over 80 countries. Special librarians are information resource experts who collect, analyze, evaluate, package, and disseminate information to facilitate accurate decision-making in corporate, academic, and government settings. Founded in 1937 as the American Documentation Institute, the American Society for Information Science and Technology is a service organization representing affiliated scientific and professional societies, foundations, and government agencies. Members share an interest in improving the ways society stores, retrieves, analyzes, manages, archives, and disseminates information. 4 librarians and 4 physicians founded the Medical Library Association in 1898. Today it represents more than 4,000 health science libraries and information professionals, serving to enhance the quality of health care, education, and research. MLA facilitates professional development through career information resources, meetings, publications, courses, awards, scholarships, and support services. The Association of Independent Information Professionals was formed in 1987 by 27 information brokers who provided information-related services such as online and manual research, document delivery, database design, library support, consulting, writing, and publishing. The United States Committee of the Blue Shield is one of 20 national committees affiliated with the International Committee of the Blue Shield. This non-governmental organization was formed in 2006 in response to occurrences of global heritage catastrophes. Serving as the cultural equivalent of the Red Cross, the Blue Shield coordinates responses to emergency situations and provides post-crisis support for world cultural heritage threatened by natural and human-made disasters. The Blue Shield covers libraries, archives, museums, audiovisual supports, monuments, and historical sites. At the beginning of this module, I referred to libraries as a hub or gateway interconnecting the matrix of society. The text summarized libraries as being shaped by the attitudes, social, economic, and political forces that evolve within a given society. While exploring the history of libraries, you may have noticed how the dynamism of social reformers contributed to the development of the institution throughout the ages. Keeping this in mind, we can see how present-day circumstances call upon 21st century information professionals to adapt as well as adopt efforts to build and hold the trust of communities they serve, which contributes to the legacy of librarianship. In closing, I'd like to share the following for you to consider as you progress through this course and the SLIS program. David Lankes, author of the Atlas of New Librarianship, stated, "Libraries are communities of members. Within this community, librarians are needed not to structure and divide, but to facilitate and mediate. Communities of librarians must bring our values, our understandings of knowledge, our meanings of facilitation. We must escape Daedalus's maze on wings of open learning organizations that value intellectual freedom and intellectual honesty, and create a safe environment for discussion. Ultimately, these kinds of organizations, also grounded in service, will set us free." Thank you for your attention. I look forward to the next virtual meeting. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, please contact me. My contact information is on the syllabus and in the instructional team section of Blackboard.